Hey everyone, welcome to this special episode of the Forever Forward podcast, and also an important announcement that I thought we'll share with all the listeners. I have Mark with me, Mark Dunn from Setmetrics. Xempla and Setmetrics have come together to sort of stitch around a unique solution for asset owners, managers across the built environments looking to get started at their net zero journey. There's been obviously a lot of talk happening around net zero, the contribution of buildings as far as climate change and the sort of emissions quota is concerned, so on and so forth. So I have Mark here with me to talk about all that we're going to do together. But before that, Mark, would you like to say hello to the listeners?
Hi, Mesh. Yeah, thank you, and hi to the listeners. Great to be here, and very excited about the partnership with Xempla. I have been in the buildings industry for a long time, and very excited by what I think the two of us could do together.
So before we get started, I mean, you mentioned that you've been in the building industry for a long time, right? And you've obviously seen a lot of changes happen. Would love to hear more from you, a brief about your background, what you're doing currently with Setmetrics, and everything that's led you to doing what you're doing right now.
Yeah. So I had my career had spent a long time with Honeywell over many years. That's sort of where things started on the technology side of things. And that took me to the US for 10 years and worked in 4 of the 5 businesses within Honeywell. And the majority of that time, and certainly the last sort of 8 years of my time at Honeywell, was all in buildings. So across Asia Pacific, ran the Australia New Zealand business, and finished up in a global role for their connected buildings business. So when they really went into software and analytics and so on. So that then took me to another role here with an Australian company, and ran a buildings business that we sold to CBRE last year. And on the back of selling that business and then integrating the two businesses, I left that and basically looking at devoting all my time entirely to climate tech and clean tech. And that's taken me to Setmetrics, where I'm working with the great team and the very good technology that they have to build out the sales and business development function of Setmetrics and really grow the business on top of what's a very solid technology platform.
That's awesome, mate. How long were you there? Just curious, how long were you there with Honeywell? Like, how many years?
26 years.
That's a small amount of time to be spending with just one company.
So 26 years, I straight out of college, and it's and we had a great time there. Great company.
That is great, mate. I mean, I don't think we get to hear this not in this age anymore, that people stick around in a company for so long. So yeah, I mean, great to have you with us, Mark. And obviously, as you rightly said, truly excited about the partnership that I think Xempla and Setmetrics are on for, and probably excited more for what it would do to the end customer. So before we get started, would love to, in your words, hear what you think this entire collaboration is all about, and how does it? Yeah, I mean, give us some more insights.
Yeah. Well, to me, the beauty of the collaboration between Setmetrics and Xempla is that you have two very solid platforms that are very complementary. All about really working together with the two products to help a customer achieve whatever their net zero or energy efficiency goals may be. Some and certainly these days a lot of building owners, tenants, etc., are looking at achieving a commitment that they've made around net zero. So certainly helping the products work together very well to help achieve that. it may just be something as simple as reducing their energy costs or improving their energy rating of the building. In Australia, we have the neighbours rating, maybe looking at improving that, which adds value to those assets. But whatever that goal be around energy and energy efficiency, the products work very well together to achieve that. The Setmetrics product really helps to very quickly establish a baseline.
Right.
While the Xempla product then works off of that baseline to identify areas for the customer to be able to improve their energy, and then back to Setmetrics to see what the impact of those changes would be before you even make them. So making sure that you can make the most cost-effective and optimal changes for the building. So just that interplay between the two, I think, is very exciting and means that the customer really has a sort of a one-stop shop for their net zero or energy efficiency journey.
Absolutely, and I think what excited me, and I absolutely agree with you, not just because we're going to be working with Setmetrics, but having seen the product evolve over a period of time. I spoke to the team, 3 to 4 years back when both of us were kind of early in the journey. As you rightly said, the Setmetrics has this amazing capability of building out a sort of a initial model of energy model of a particular building. Obviously, you can go into huge depths, make it more fundamentally sort of robust as much as possible, and that's there, which allows people to look at how energy is being consumed across their building, what should be the profile, so on and so forth. And one of the things I've often looked at and said that obviously, then the discussions we had with the team was that net zero is a scary subject, right? A lot of focus is given to the end of it, which is the end of the journey of trying to get to net zero. But it's a start which often matters the most, and there are a sort of a lot of customers, asset owners, or managers who probably do not have the capacity to get started on knowing what the journey might look like, where to start, what's the overall potential that is available. And also the second thing is that a lot of these buildings would have building management systems, data from that, plus some of the functional design specifications. All of that don't go in sync to be able to analyze and say what's the gap, how much can it be covered by optimization, so on and so forth. So what you rightly said, I'm truly excited with one of the aspects of how hopefully and potentially for building owners and asset managers, we can sort of tie both the worlds together to give them a perspective of how can they get started with their net zero journey or the energy efficiency journey, and to what extent can they take it before the more capital intensive driven projects sort of find their way through. But just moving on to another question, who do you think will benefit the most, or what persona of the overall customer segment do you think will benefit the most with what we're trying to do between Xempla and Setmetrics?
Yeah, I think to us there's a couple of personas that it really will resonate for. The obvious one is building owners, right? So so whether it be to improve the value of their assets by improving the energy efficiency, or because they have lease agreements with tenants that contain certain commitments. It's a very popular sort of trend now towards what's called green leasing, where the tenants will impose certain requirements. For them, this, to your point, just gives them a very quick way to get started and to realize the goals that they will have. So building owners have that, and what's nice about it is it gives them a set of tools that allows them then to find the path to whatever their energy commitment is, that uses a combination of technologies. They're not sort of beholden to one solution, but they can use these tools to identify the combination of different technologies that will help get them there, and also at the same time take into account how those technologies interplay together when it comes to energy. So building owners is a big one. and then solution providers. So there's, whether it be energy consultants or OEMs who have certain technologies that can reduce energy use, these tools become very useful for them to show building owners, tenants, others, how they will be able to, how much they'll be able to reduce the energy use by, and how they'll be able to do it again quickly and before you ever spend a cent on capital or the interruption of making those changes. So so both those groups, so we can see a lot of great value for both of them.
That's interesting, and I think I'm currently in the UK, and there's been a lot of talk around retrofit, and in fact retrofits have been taking off, and probably that's also there in Australia. And I guess it helps a lot. Anyone who's in the retrofit ecosystem, I guess it helps them a lot to really identify all the possibilities, link up with the operational data, drop the energy model, drop all of those scenarios, the changes that can happen before you move on to the sort of a more capital intensive play in that sense. But yeah, retrofits is big in the UK, and I see that as a huge enabler as well. Especially what we've been seeing is that there have been when I say unlikely, I don't mean that they're not doing good, but we've normally seen potential candidates like FM companies or engineering companies, or we've seen energy service companies, but there's a whole new breed of smaller engineering companies, or are emerging, who have been working in the BMS space, but all of a sudden are utilizing or wanting to utilize this amazing opportunity that net zero and retrofits bring together to introduce a new set of services around energy efficiency and stuff like that. I think it could be a game changer for a number of them to be able to use a solution that sort of Xempla and Setmetrics kind of bring together in that
Totally.
sense.
Absolutely, yeah.
So connected question: what do you think is the starting point for I mean, how do companies get started? How does someone who's, let's say, there's a building owner, firstly, I mean, where do you, maybe before this question, sorry, I'll probably hold this question and go to another question. Where all are we targeting to take this out in the initial phases? What locations are we looking at?
In terms of places in the world? Or...
In geography, yeah.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I mean, it's software, so it can go anywhere. That's part of the advantage of it. So we're not limited necessarily by geographies, but where we want to start is where the two companies are quite strong. So if you look at Setmetrics, the products developed here out of Australia, the development teams down in Melbourne, and we've already got a number of customers here in Australia. So we'll certainly look to take it to the customers down here, and then internationally, again, Setmetrics has a presence. Certainly, Xemplar and the team there have some very strong presence in the Middle East and the UK, where you are now, as you said, Umesh. So we'll start in those places and look to grow out from there. But again, it is software, so it can go anywhere, and it won't stop us from, if a customer reaches out in the US and wants to see it, we're not going to tell them no.
That's so true. So now going to the question which I wanted to put on. So let's say someone listens to this podcast, is a building owner, or let's say one of the personas that we spoke about, and is interested to understanding a bit more about how can they get started. What's your message to them? What does the journey for them look like? Could you give some insights?
Yeah, I mean, look, everyone's at a different stage in their journey, but the thing that we know for certain is to put in place a good path to whatever your energy goal is. Let's say net zero is an example. You need to know where you're starting. So you need to know where you're at today. And what we certainly see for a lot of customers is in a lot of cases, the best level of granularity that they have as to where
Hmm.
they're at today is what they're paying in terms of their energy bills.
Hmm.
And that's not really going to help you understand where you have opportunity to
Correct.
reduce your energy.
Correct.
So it's really establishing that more granular baseline as to where your building or set of buildings, because certainly the tools work on portfolios as well as individual buildings, but where they're at in terms of their energy use and how that use is distributed amongst all the different sort of consumers of energy within a building's ecosystem. So establishing that baseline is really the place to start, and that's where the Setmetrics tool actually lets you do that in a very rapid way. You can very quickly, within a matter of literally minutes, get a baseline that's somewhat accurate, plus or minus 20% typically. But then with a little bit more work and understanding of what's in the building in terms of the mechanical plant, the lighting, the window glazing, etc., get that to a very accurate baseline and know where all the energy is being used, so you know where the
Where?
opportunity is to improve. Yeah.
No, and I think one of the things is, as you rightly mentioned, that obviously you've got to be slightly more granular than what people are at this point in time. If you really need to know, find out areas of improvement. I think one of the things maybe what I would like to add is when we were thinking through the journey, and obviously again the complementary aspect of it, but also let's say a point where in the early stages of evaluating what all opportunities exist in a building, I mean, especially for those where building management systems are there, they are often not taken into consideration. The information from building management systems, the operational data, don't find their way to let's say the design data. And I think one of the things that all the customers, the building owners, or like let's say the OEMs or the ones who are actually going after retrofits can expect from the solution in the first year, which is our promise of trying to take all the complexity away from net zero, not be scared, not look at what like the 5-year plan could look like, but most certainly completely in 1 year, being in a position where you've not only modeled accurately the energy consumption model of the particular building, but also have taken sort of operational steps to reduce energy as much as potentially possible from controls and other data. And then actually by the end of the year, be in a position where you're able to then take on the other bigger mantles of let's say capital projects and so on and so forth. But most
Yeah.
certainly, when you look at in a year's time frame, you're there knowing where to start, probably covered some ground on making the early wins count and reduce the consumption, and then as Mark mentioned, go back again onto Setmetrics to see how the model has changed, how the evolution has happened. And but the most important part of it is all of this comes as a managed solution for the end customer. You don't have the fuss of two products. You're not looking at saying, do I look at this product, how do I configure to Xempla? How do I configure to Setmetrics? All of that gets managed at a single place for the end customer. And I'm not going to share too much around pricing at this point in time. I'll probably keep that as a bit of a surprise, but it's going to come at a price point which I think is fundamentally, in my opinion, very powerful, because it democratizes the use of the software and the technology that we are saying across to all buildings. Often
Yeah.
we've
Yeah.
seen the limitation that mostly technology only finds its way to larger buildings, to tier 1 buildings. And I think when you look at tier 2, tier 3 buildings, including some of the tier 1 buildings as well, the technology doesn't find its way. And a lot of times the complexity around the use of the software is obviously a role to play, but I think the way the sort of pricing plan works out also has a lot of limitations. So I'm really excited on that, Mark. So yeah, I mean, super good. I mean, when we last met we did not meet in Melbourne. I missed your meeting in Sydney. I'm so sorry. But when we last spoke, we spoke about getting onto the podcast, but at least we've got onto this video. We still have to do our sets of podcasts, which I'm sure we'll get opportune time once you're back from your Christmas break. But before I let you go, any last minute point, excitement you would like to share about this partnership, or anything, any message that you would have for the listeners before I let you
No,
go and pack your
I
bags
think
for the Europe trip?
Yes, yeah, yeah. No, look, I think for me the key thing is really, as you've said, is this gives you a way to get started. So if people are stuck or know that they have commitments in place, excuse me, or aspirations around their energy, this just gives you a great way to quickly just get going on that. And I'd say if you have that and you're listening to this, then reach out. We can get you going very quickly. We've worked with a lot of customers. Both of us have worked with a lot of customers all over the world to help them do that. And yeah, keen to help you do that as well if you're listening.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Thanks again, Mark. Thanks everyone for listening to this episode and obviously tuning into this video. Links in the comment section will have more details to the Xempla Setmetric partnership, the solution that we're taking out, and how you can reach out to us or potentially get started in a jiffy if, as Mark mentioned, either you have an obligation or you really want to get started on your energy efficiency, net zero, or any other journey that has energy in it. Thanks so much, Mark, for joining in. Really appreciate your time. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Umesh.